All right, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to everyone who is joining us today at the African History of the Mind's Mind Your Mind Masterclass. My name is Joshua Awesome, and I'm very, very honored and delighted to be hosting this masterclass for January 2021. I trust and believe that you are well, and in these trying times that we find ourselves with so much happening around the world, um, I'm very humbled and grateful that you were able to make time to be part of this experience. We're just going to share a few house rules that will guide us into this time together. Let me first ask that everyone who is joining us kindly please mute your microphones and also your videos. Um, at a later point, I will invite my colleague and friend, distinguished transformational teacher, Dr. Harry Paul Benjamin, to basically take his bit of presentation for today. Let me use this opportunity to also thank everyone who has, even with short notice, decided to join us here today. So just a little bit of background. My name is Joshua Awesome. I founded what is called the African History of the Mind. And the African History of the Mind has basically existed for almost 2 years now, if I'm correct. The interesting thing about the African Shop the Mind is that it was actually born from a need in our society here in Africa. I have had the privilege to do work across Africa and the world um, as an executive coach, as a learning and development consultant, and an international keynote speaker for several organizations around the world. And when we began to do the work we have done the last 23 years, and this month actually makes it 23 years that I have been doing what I do, and stopped counting the number of persons that the work we do has impacted after we had counted 100,000 persons. And so we realized that many persons could not afford to pay for the value that we add. And that was what ignited the interest to want to have a non-profit organization that pretty much also focuses on what we do from my coaching psychology practice perspective, to touching the lives of people through the work also at the African Institute of the Mind. And so every month we focus on minding our minds, one mind at a time. Here in South Africa, where I'm actually based and having this live session from, we have been privileged to do some work with the South African Police Services. And from a nonprofit perspective, have also supported a couple of other nonprofits. And we hope we'll be able to do better and do bigger this new decade. And there's a big announcement that I'm going to make in a couple of months. And when I say a couple of months, I'm referring to April, to be specific. So on the 16th of April, I will be making a big announcement as I officially donate my birthday towards mental health. And I'm grateful for the kind support of some of our colleagues who are already on this call, and those who would also be joining us virtually. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome some of my great friends. I see a couple of you already joining in. Dr. Harry Paul Benjamin, thank you for honoring us with your time and presence. I also see a great friend of mine who has just joined in from Texas. Dr. Harry Akinola, thank you for joining us. We're also looking forward to having your kind support with your time later on this year at one of our Mind Your Mind sessions. This will be a short 1 hour. We will not do more than that. We recognize it's the last Sunday of the month and you possibly need to start planning for the year for those who have not already began. So without much focus on all of that, I just like to also move straight to the topic of the day, get, set, goal. If you're joining us, once again, kindly please put off your microphone. Thank you, Dr. Harry Akinola, for joining us all the way from Texas. I see one of my great friends who was a client, Mrs. Irene. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Kenya. Thanks to everybody who's also joining us from across the continent. So I'd like to just start with the very first words that you see on the screen. The mind is like a parachute. The mind is like a parachute. It only works when it is open. Now, I share this from the very start because there's a story behind this story, and I'm one person who over time has had the privilege to not just use coaching psychology to support people. I have seen it work for me, and over time, the last 23 years, one of the things that I've realized is that if we are going to achieve any goal, we need to first and foremost get that goal locked within our mind. And the mind is the starting point. It's your mind that is the birthing ground for all the things that you want to see and the things you want to seize, and even the things you don't want to see and the things you don't want to seize. They all take place on the canvas and in your mind. And there's an interesting story I'm going to share shortly. So the first thing is to get the dream, and many of us are familiar with thinking about several ideas, and a whole lot of ideas come into your mind on a daily basis, and there's several school of thoughts. And at this point, I'd like to ask, how many thoughts or ideas passes through your mind on a daily basis? Can you guess? Do you know? Maybe if you want, please take a moment and type in the chat box how many ideas passed through your mind maybe yesterday or last week or in the course of this month. And I'm looking forward to actually reading some of this in the course of this Mind Your Mind Masterclass. But as you type in the chat box about the number of dreams and ideas that runs through the canvas of your mind, I see some people already typing there. And I see somebody said approximately 100,000 yesterday. Okay, interesting. Your mind is an interesting one, I must say. But more importantly, even if it's 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, the question I'd like you to think about is, do you ink those ideas? Okay, so in my book, Monday Morning Motivation, Your Work Week Starter, I talk about the need for us to ink the thoughts that passes through the canvas of our minds. And aside inking the thoughts, a revered mind coach suggests that the intuitive hits that we have are more or less seeds on the canvas of our minds. Sigmund Freud actually says that dreams are but sea foam. I like that. And the beautiful thing about dreams, goals is many of us have been nourished and nurtured with the need for us to set smart goals. And to be honest with you, I don't know, somebody just wrote in the chat box now that he had more than 50. But the question, and more importantly, is how many of them do you ink? How many of them do you document? How many of them do you write? And I think it's important that we take time to ink our thoughts. So again, for those joining us, this is Mind Your Mind Masterclass. And should you have joined us via Instagram or joined us via LinkedIn or joined us via Zoom or joined us via YouTube, we welcome you all from all the various channels. My name is Joshua Awesome. I am privileged to be the founder of the African Institute of the Mind, and I'm humbled to have global minds. And when I say global minds, leaders in coaching, executives around the world who are joining this session from Texas to West Africa, East Africa, and I feel very humbled and grateful for your time. But to move forward, when you have given the dream the attention by inking it, that is you getting the dream. And the next step is that you need to then set the dreams that have showed up on the canvas of your mind. Now, somebody just wrote in the chat box that probably 10, and he's documented, a couple of the 10 amongst the 50 that have emerged on the canvas of his mind. So when we get dreams, the next thing we need to do is we need to set those dreams. And in setting them, what I mean by that is you need to physically take some form of action. Now, I started earlier by saying that the mind is like a parachute, and it only works when it is open. I'd like you to think of a glass, an empty glass. The only way that glass can be useful is if it's not full. So if you put water into it and you want to add something else into it, you cannot do that until that glass is empty. So many times, many of us show up with a mindset, and that mindset is like concrete. And my colleague and project manager on this call possibly understands that better, Kompi, from a construction perspective, that when a mind is set, it's actually concrete. And we need to open our minds in this new year and this new decade if we're going to not just think or get goals, but to also be able to set them. So there's a physical side of it, and then there's the mental preparation. I'd like to call it mind gym kind of situation. And I'd like to say that that is the secret of my own success. Now, let me tell you a very interesting story about that. There's an interesting research about three groups of persons, and the first group of basketballers were actually in the locker room, and they were given 60 minutes, and what they did was they spent 60 minutes doing free throws to prepare themselves for the dream that they were going to have or accomplish in their next big game. And so after that, another group were brought into the same locker room. And those ones were also given 60 minutes. But their coach recommended that they do not just do free throws like those who had initially come into the locker room and the gym. And so what they did was that they spent 30 minutes visualizing their success on the court and in the game. And the other 30 minutes was then spent doing free throws. Now, guess what? The last group was pretty much more interesting. And beg your pardon, the second group spent 60 minutes visualizing, beg your pardon. The first group spent 60 minutes doing free throws. The second group spent 60 minutes visualizing, but the third group decided to capitalize on the insight and information they had received from the first group and the second group. Then they split their time into 30 minutes of visualizing their success in the game and 30 minutes of free throws. Which group do you think won the game? I'd like you to please type in the chat box what your thoughts are. And the reason why I'm asking you this is because a lot of times the answer of the result, the success that we desire, someone is already, yeah, thank you, Dr. Harry. Now, there are two Dr. Harrys on this call actually today. So Dr. Harry from Texas now is the one that I'm responding to. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to introduce both of you to each other actually. Maybe that would be a good thing and a good way to actually help our mind gym experience to further expand. And this was not part of the plan typically. And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of times while we're trying to get our dream, and we are setting it, intuitive hits emerge on the canvas of our minds that we need to be open to and flexible to be able to achieve dreams together. So as I share that, I'd like to move to the last bit of it before I begin to wrap up my bit and then turn this over to our guest and keynote speaker for the day. The last bit is seize the dream. So remember, the theme is get, set, goal. So first you need to get the dream. Next, you need to set the dream. And then you need to seize the dream. So this bit talks about laboring for that dream that you desire. And the first action step towards laboring for it is being competitive. Now, let me clarify that. We have been told and taught to be competing with the best in the world. That if you want to be the best in your industry, think of the best person who is the best in your industry and then mirror yourself to compete against that person. I'd like to break that table and change that perspective and share what I believe the best and competitive person that you need to compete against needs to be. It is nobody out there. It is you. Yes, you listening to me right now. Your competition needs to be with you and not with anybody else. Because the best that you experienced last should be the competition that you now make the next competition that you focus on. In other words, my best me in the past year is my competition towards emerging a better me this year. So I'm not competing with anybody, regardless of those who are out there, who are great at what they do. I have great respect for them, but none of them is my competition because there is only one awesome Joshua, and there can never be a replica or anyone like me who shows up on the planet bringing my very best self. So I am my own competition. And as I share this, I'm sure my colleague Kompi remembers a conversation that we had with someone who helped a real estate company make R1 billion in 48 hours. And this is not a story. You can Google it on the internet. This happened here in South Africa. A gentleman helped a real estate company make 1 billion. Yes, over 48 hours. Now, the question is, who was his competition? He said to us in a conversation that he's not competing with anybody. A competition is for small minds. Now, this is not to insult anybody. If you've been competing with people, how about you rise up to this new focus and make your last success the competition that you focus on in your next set of goals? So, having said that, clarify that the next will be you then begin to summon courage towards building and designing audacious goals. Goals that if you think of them, they possibly get your heart wondering, am I going to achieve this? And so look at it from this angle. Okay. So typically, many of us say, okay, the lion is the king of the jungle. And that makes the lion one that is courageous, correct? But guess what? Believe it or not, the lion also shows up every day walking through the jungle with fear. But his fear is now courage taking a walk. So I want you to think about it from this angle. And I don't know if you know this, sometimes there are animals in the animal kingdom that also attack lions. I have watched several of those documentaries, and I can tell you one thing. There are animals out there that also try to attack the lion. What it also means is that regardless of how courageous you have been, it is okay to feel fear. It is okay to then rise up and realize that your next best self is waiting to emerge. And that's where confidence comes in. Okay. And as you confidently take on that step, the beautiful thing about that is that the confidence begins to deepen your inner resolve, your inner landscape, your inner world would recognize that, yes, even if you're scared, you know, The challenges may look daunting. You can achieve them. And then there is, a whole lot of continuous work that you need to do. Think about it. Confidence helps us, to ensure that almost always what we think was, not possible, we can stretch ourselves to another level to birth them. Perhaps the most obvious sign of confidence will then be control. So while you are being confident, make sure you're not overconfident. Where you begin to recognize the need to regulate, to then control, and make your focus your focus. Don't allow things externally to distract you. Because a lot of times, and talking about distractions, with COVID ravaging the world, some of us possibly feel we haven't done enough. The reality is, it is okay for you to sometimes just slow down, slow down and do an emotional check-in. All right. Panic has gone viral. You don't have to, achieve all the goals that you have set, but it is okay for all the goals that you have set to be taken carefully. And that's where composure comes in. All right. So consistency is a vital one, but composure is also very important. Winners are always at the top of their game, regardless of how they are feeling. So don't allow what you are not achieving to then make you feel less. So, for example, when a mentally tough person is under the weather, he or she doesn't use that as an excuse, to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to perform poorly. You resolve to try as hard as ever and as hard as you can. And I'd like to just begin to close by highlighting one key point, which is very, very important. And that is commitment. Okay, so it has been said that focus and consistency are the things that keep global brands on top. So commitment is simply having the skills to be a stellar professional, a stellar athlete, a stellar business person, a stellar student, a stellar coach, a stellar leader. You have to want to be successful at the end. Remember, you're not competing with anybody. Your commitment to working hard also requires that you work smart, and then you are able to achieve the goals that you have set ultimately. So just to wrap it up, I'd like to begin to close by saying there's a need for us to relax. Okay, so relaxation happens when you stop creating tension, and there's a place for us to relax. Don't over trying to leads to underperforming. Don't over try. Sometimes just breathe and take it easy with yourself. If all the things that you have set for the month of January 2021 has not been achieved, the fact that you are alive to see this day means that you are blessed with life, and the opportunity to see tomorrow will hopefully be a sign that you can continue what you did not finish today. What you did not finish this past week, what you did not finish this past month, and what you did not finish in the year and decade past. So let me begin to close with some key takeaways. We need to get the dream first, and then set the dream next. Finally, we go for it. We get the dream. We get the dream, we set the dream, and we go for the dream. And that's the goal. And that's where labor comes in. Okay, so body and mind requires your mind to be present. I've said this in subtle ways in the course of my presentation. Pay attention to your own skills, the skills that you're currently working, pay attention to them. So enjoy the moment, enjoy the journey. You know, one thing that I've realized is that many people are in flurry hurry. That's why they don't have time for recoveries. Many of us are focused on the destination. We want to achieve X, Y, Z. That's why we're not enjoying the moment. Enjoy the journey, because the journey is equally as important as the destination. Don't rush, relax through it and enjoy it, because today is a gift and it will be called today. It will be called the present by the time tomorrow shows up. So give yourself that credit, relax, don't be in flurry hurry. And hopefully, on the other side, when you have achieved that dream and that goal, you will be glad that you did not rush, that you relaxed through it, that you enjoyed the moment, that you paid attention to the skills that you are working, that your body and your mind, which requires your presence and your mind, uh, um, got the attention that it deserved, that you gave the goal the attention it required, that you set the dream, that you got and inked the dream. This is where I would, like to just pause and hand it over to Dr. Harry Paul Benjamin, who will now be taking us through his presentation, hopefully for the next 15 to 20 minutes as we wrap up this month's Mind Your Mind Masterclass. It's me, Joshua Awesome, thanking you all for listening, and I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Harry Benjamin at this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my dear brother, great friend. Really grateful and thankful for the friendship. I really am so grateful that you have extended your world, your sphere, and actually decided to have myself included in the progress and the emergence of some of the things that you're doing. So I'm so grateful that at the beginning of this year that I've been given that privilege to be here with you guys and to participate in this series of the Mind Your Mind, which I've been here before. I've listened a number of times, and it's been really great. And I'm so grateful that you have asked me to participate in Get Set Go, starting off at the beginning of the year. If I do have sharing privileges, I wouldn't mind sharing my screen if I can. Um, just to give some visual context to some of what I would like to share. Just make me a co-host, I guess, if that would be feasible. And welcome everyone. Nice to meet my namesake, Dr. Harry. And all those who are here, different countries. I heard Kenya, of course, the US. I'm based here in Nigeria. And of course, Dr. Awesome is in South Africa. So we're pretty global today. And really appropriate theme. Will I be able to share, Dr. Awesome? If not, then we could just go ahead and I'll just speak without having to share, if that's not possible. All right. Let me see if I'm going to be. All right. Okay, it's not yet there. Okay. All right, that's fine. Just let me know when it's there. Maybe I'll see it on the screen. So yes, so in concurring and just seeking to add to what Dr. Awesome shared in terms of the power of goal setting and just piggybacking off the idea of the mind and the power of the mind. And we all know how powerful the mind is by now, but of course it doesn't work. It's just like, as Dr. Awesome said, it's a parachute, and if you're flying in an aircraft 30,000 feet above sea level, and you jump out of the plane with your parachute packed on your back, and as you're going down and enjoying the wind and feeling all of that, but you need to open the parachute because you're approaching the ground level, and then the parachute does not open, then you have a major problem on your hands. And the mind functions in that very similar way. So and entrenching that goal in the mind is so, so important. Okay, here we go. And I'll come back to giving you that when we're back there. All right. So yeah, so get set goal, right? And as Dr. Awesome has shared, for us to get set goal, I'll talk about the word goal a bit and come back to it. But he said very well that it begins with the dream. Really nothing really begins until there's a dream. There has to be a dream, a vision, and that dream. I see the word dreams, which we all are, and Dr. Awesome asked about the number that passed through your mind yesterday in terms of. I thought you asked about thoughts, passing through, not dreams. But maybe I just didn't hear clearly. But the word dreams, guys, everyone that's here, ladies and gentlemen, don't be the word guy. I picked up that phrase in being here as a part of the Nigerian parlance, and I tend to use it a bit. But I know some cultures, guy refers only to the female, but I'm male. Sorry, but I'm referring to everybody, whether you're male or female. If you hear me use that in my discourse. So dreams, right? I was inspired a couple of years ago, started creating some acronyms. I call them racronyms because I use the reverse process of using an established word and creating an acronym from it. So I call them racronyms. So here's a racronym for the word dreams. Now, when you look at the word dreams, and I think these racronyms are useful. It's in my first book, A Book of New Thoughts, which Dr. Awesome was so great of an influence in helping me to shape some of it. So thank you again for that. So the word dreams, desires, it begins with desires, and then desires, even that word is also a racronym, right? Which it means, I'll come back to the meaning for that in a second. But desires resting, enticing a magnificent soul. So the idea is that we all have these dreams, and they are literally resting within our subconscious. They're resting within our being. And there comes a time when they start to pop up into our awareness. And when they start to pop up into our awareness, they start to become desires. They start to become something that entices you to actually go out and accomplish them. So the process of dreaming is really important to actually come in touch with what's floating through our awareness. And oftentimes they sometimes come up as, lucid dreams. Sometimes they happen during the course of physical sleeping, but a lot of times they're even floating through our awareness as the intuitive hit that's happening throughout the course of the day. Sometimes they show up even as a verbal message from a person, a friend. It may show up even as you're driving by on a street side and something catches your eye on a billboard, and it represents aspects of what it is that's within you that you are responsible for bringing out. And here's the thing about these, these are there. And one of the things about those of us who do not act on them, oftentimes, they go latent, right? And they stay there latent. They don't go away because they'll be there eternally, so to speak, and someone else will have the opportunity to bring it forward. But when it's teasing you, when it's pulling you, when it's pushing you, when it's prodding you, it is there to help us to bring forth that greater aspect of ourselves that are there as desires. So we have these desires, and for example, it may start out as simple as looking at the recipe of 2020. Okay, 2020 was a really good stimulus package. COVID was a really good stimulus package. It came in a way that some of us would prefer it not come that way. But the thing about us as human beings, we tend not to go to our next level unless we are squeezed, unless we are prodded, unless we are pushed. And oftentimes, these situations that we find ourselves in become the recipe for the expression of the desires that have been there. For example, some people may have had the desire to establish another business, for example. And COVID-19 circumstances and situations reduce the cash flows in their existing business and put them in a negative flow situation. What that forces the person to now do is to go out and do the business that they were desiring to do, that they were dreaming about doing, but they may have suspended doing it because of whatever excuses that have been engraved within our mind over time because of life's experiences, you know. That's another acronym again, right? You know, because those excuses become engraved. They literally become in grooves in your brain. So when a dream comes up, an idea comes up, here comes the excuse. Oh, well, yes, you know, it'd be great if you went after that. But remember, you know, this happened that last time, and this happened that other time, and it pops something into our mind again, and it attempts to sabotage us, right? So guys, we have to get in touch with these dreams. The desires, as I promised you that acronym as well, you know, I see it as dreams existing subconsciously, inspiring, revealing excellence successfully. So a desire is a really the combination of the dream that's there, and there's a feeling that you're getting to inspire you to bring it from the subconscious and bring it into reality and put it on the canvas of life so that the rest of us can get to enjoy. It's not even really there for you, it's there for us, okay? For you to bring it forward so all of us can get to participate in it. Like Dr. Awesome's name, you know, as our acronym, activating wonderful experiences so others may enjoy. That's such a beautiful name, right? Activating wonderful experiences, which he's doing today, so others may enjoy, which we're all able to participate in right now. So let's look at these goals. See, you're smiling over here, Doc. Let's look at these goals, right? So goal setting is essential. In fact, it is actually there's a great author. His name is Charles Fillmore. He started what's called Unity Church. It's actually coming from the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes, and a group of people like Ralph Waldo Emerson. You know, that whole period of enlightenment that happened through the Renaissance. And in his writings, one of his writings is that there are four fundamental laws to permanent prosperity. All right, four fundamental laws. And the second of those, one of those laws, no particular order, but there's the law of giving back, or what's called tithing for some of us. And then there's the law of goal setting, all right? You know, and the law of forgiveness, and then the law of purpose. But the law of goal setting, it is the one of the laws of permanent prosperity. So if anyone wants to be permanently prosperous, they have to have goals, going out and living successfully. It means that goal setting has to be perpetual. You know, and I learned some years ago that Bill Gates, right, has a goal book, a written goal book with over 7,000 written goals in it. And if you look across the spectrum of very successful people in the world, they have documented goals. You know, I'm still working to get to the first written 1,000, but I'm on my way. I take time out on the 1st of November. I learned that principle some years ago, and I take that day, whether it's a half a day or a few hours for the day, and I actually go over the different aspects of life. I look at my spirituality. What are my goals there? I look at my physical being in terms of my body, temple. What are my goals there? And then I look at my relationships, you know, with my family first, and you know, my spousal relationship for those who have one, and then my relationship with our children, and what it is that we're going to do in those areas. And I write out goals in those areas. And then I look at my career goals, my business goals. What am I doing in those areas to move us forward? Of course, you know, there's the goal review. You have to go review last year's goals if you had written them down to see what was accomplished, what needs adjustments, and what you need to do for those goals to become manifest. So we should always be writing them down. Goal writing and goal setting should be perpetual. It should be something that becomes continuous. I'm not continuously writing goals yet, but that's an intention of mine, so that I'm always writing them down. As soon as the idea comes to my mind, as Dr. Awesome had said, write down your intuitive hits, write down intuitive hits. So you're always goal setting. And some of those goals may not materialize during your current cycle here on the planet, But who knows? Who knows? There may be another cycle somewhere, somehow, in terms of the eternal nature of life itself, giving that opportunity for expression of those goals. So, in substance, we need to actually have those goals in those areas. And then the other area that's really important to actually have goals, if you don't have them there, are community goals. What are you doing in your community? What are you doing to assist your particular city or town? Start with maybe your town. What are you doing in your city? Or possibly what are you doing in your country or continent or world? What is it that you're doing that's going to make a difference while you're here? Because we're here to express, we're here to reveal the gifts, the talents, the capacities. We're here to reveal those desires that are embedded deep within us, that were embedded there based on our nature. Our nature as beings is that dreams and desires are embedded there. And the goals that we now use, they become like mile markers along the process of revealing those desires, right? Revealing those dreams. So goals, man, this is so powerful, right? When you actually flow into goals. And when you do that, you will flow into purpose. All of us here have the same purpose to reveal the gifts, the talents, the capacities that are loaded and coded within us. As Dr. Awesome says, there's no one else that can do Dr. Awesome. So if he doesn't do Dr. Awesome, Dr. Awesome does not get done, because there's no one on the planet that can do what he does. And he has to show up and reveal what he's supposed to do, or we get shortchanged. All of us do. All right. So all of us have to show up. So our purpose is to reveal. All right. I see that word as a acronym again: powerful, unveiled, revelations, providing openings for the supreme expression of your life. So this is where we step into it. All right. We step into, all right. Okay. Yes, you're right, Dr. Awesome. Right. If you don't do your purpose, no one can do it for you. So we have to, each and every one of us, you have to. There's no choice in it. There's no one else that can do you except you, because there's only one of you. All of us have this unique fingerprint. If you look at paternal twins, right? A paternal twin is when one sperm bursts the egg into two, right? The sperm is it's flowing up the canal so fast with such a trajectory. It came out with such speed and vigor and vim that it, boom, when it hit the egg split into two, right? That's a paternal twin. So you have two biological entities coming from the same sperm and the same egg. But even though that is the case, the two individuals have different fingerprints, even though they came from the same biology. So the thing about the expression of life always expresses itself uniquely. There's never another snowflake that's the same, a blade of grass that's the same. The sands on the beach, the billions of sand pebbles, if you want to call them that, right, spread across the beach are uniquely different. Every wave that surfaces on the ocean, it's uniquely different. So each of us within this wonderful recipe of the COVID-19 dilemma, right, as some people probably want to call it, because it has put a recipe of situations together that has provided some challenges. And those challenges are designed to birth our best self. When you look at it, whatever situation you're in, what you have to do is to rise. You have to reveal your purpose in that situation. Whatever is going on, amidst whatever is happening, you have to rise, right? And you have to rise despite or in spite of the circumstances that surround us. We have to also rise because of the circumstances and situations that surround us. So man, I'm fired up. I'm so excited about 2021. And I hope that you are too. There's so much that's revealing itself and emerging itself from the different things that we're all charged to do. And as I hand it back to you, Dr. Awesome, one thing I think, that keeps nudging me to share, which is kind of in the sense of goals, is what are we doing? We're laughing at the end of last year, and Dr. Awesome and I were laughing about money, right? And having multiple streams of income. And we were laughing that, meditation is so important. It's so important to your well-being. It's so important to remaining calm and so forth. But we're saying, man, if you're meditating and the bill collector is coming to the door, the meditation just goes south, right? So we need to ensure that we have our money together. We have to have our cash together. And I'm one advocate for helping people and participating in ways in which we can help our brothers and sisters to actually develop multiple sources of income. So that's something that you definitely want to ensure that it's one of your goals. It's a part of what you're doing this year. How are you adding to your current income sources? How are you increasing them? What are you doing to increase them? It's very, very important that you're participating in other areas that are increasing your flows, because some of the areas that we have may dry up, right? Not to hurt anybody. The universe sometimes has to discard some things that are no longer useful as different epochs and different paradigms unfold and reveal themselves. So with that said, guys, it's been my joy and my honor and my privilege, and my heart is filled to overflowing with gratitude for the opportunity to share here today, Dr. Awesome. And I'll hand this right back to you, sir.
All right. So Dr. Benjamin, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind assistance and your presentation. As I think about your presentation, the one bit that is very important, and everybody possibly can still see it on the screen, is the word purpose. Okay, and it talks to powerful, unveiled revelations, providing openings for supreme expressions. Now, we all can have access to the source. And once we have that access, then we have the resource to be able to birth things. And I just like to begin to, ask that if you may now, you're welcome to switch on your screens if you can. And if my friends and from around the world are still here, I would like to, I see a couple of persons have stepped out, but more importantly, if you have any question, you are welcome to switch on your microphone and your video, and then we can actually have that Q&A live here right now. So does anyone have any question that they would like to ask, or any perspective that they would like to share? And then we can basically just respond to that. I don't know if there's anyone who has a question or a perspective that they would like to share.
Yes, so Nathi, it's Nathi, right? N-A-T-H-I?
Yes.
Okay, Nathi sent a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
So the question is, please share with us how to build multiple streams of income. So thank you for the question, Nathi. And Nathi, where are you streaming from? That name,
Nathi, in South Africa.
Yes,
South Africa.
I'm in South Africa. Yes. Yes, yes, I'm in South Africa.
All right. Okay, man. Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. Thank you for asking the question. All right. So the first way I'd seek to answer that is understanding the difference between source of income and stream of income. All right. A source of income is based on the things that we do. For example, you may have the ability to work at a company. That's one source of income for you. You may have the ability to drive an Uber, taxi. That's another source of income for you, which means that when you're not doing the job, you have no income. And when you're not doing the Uber, you have no income. So those are sources, because you have to actively do something to have them. Now, a stream is something that flows to you without your involvement after a period of time. So all streams of income begin as a source. So you have to do something to get the stream going. And there are different types of business models that you can engage yourself in that have built into them a stream of income after you have done the initial work of building that particular business. So there are businesses that you could do, like one thing you could do that could become a stream of income is author a book. I know that's not the easiest one off the top of your head, because that requires some level of inspiration. And if you're not inspired in that way, going about that may not necessarily be the way to focus on it. But there are businesses out there that you could get involved, right? Get involved, and after you've gotten involved with it, then later on, after you've built it for a while, it becomes a stream. Like, for example, you set up a restaurant. You had to go in there, get everything set up, buy lease the office or lease the building, get the staff, get the equipment, get a manager, and you get everything in place. And once it's running effectively and efficiently, you no longer have to be there, and it becomes a stream of income because you're profiting from the success of the restaurant, for example, or a barber salon or anything of that nature, but you have to get it going in the beginning. And there are other models that are cheaper and easier to get into than these bigger ideas of a restaurant or a barber salon that carries a lot of capital outlay. But there's some models that allow for much smaller capital outlay, and you can use your time and energy and build up cash flows within that platform, within those models, and it pays you money on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, alongside other things that you're doing. And you can build one up, get it going well, and then you put your attention and energy. Like Dr. Awesome and I have been in one business that I've been in longer than he has, but I've been able to create a monthly residual income in that business. And it's been paying us money for 2 years, and I haven't had to physically go there and work that business anymore, but I had invested 8 years of time and energy to have built it to that level. All right. So I hope that helps you, Nathi. Does that help? Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. And if you're a friend of Dr. Austin, just connect with him, and we could talk about how we could help you, because we could help you to create that. All right, we could help you to build your streams, okay, over time through coaching and guidance and stuff. We can definitely help you to create those. You're welcome. You're welcome, Irene. I'm happy that it did.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Benjamin. And we want to try as much as possible to keep it at an hour this month. And so I would like to begin to wrap it up. But more importantly, I'd like to thank every one of us who was able to chime in from around the world. I'm deeply grateful for those who chimed in from East Africa, to those who chimed in from West Africa, to those who chimed in from North America. It means a lot to us as we begin to wrap this up. Yes, it is monthly. The Mind Your Mind Masterclass is the last Sunday of every month. Though I'm not sure how it's going to work out in April, because April 16th is actually my birthday, and I'm actually partnering with some of my friends and colleagues to officially donate my birthday to mental health. There's some very interesting big announcements that are upcoming specifically around that, towards making our continent a more mentally healthy continent. And if you are in South Africa, maybe you'll be able to physically be here. If not, you will be welcome to join us from wherever it is you are around the world. Please look out for my messages via social media. Just to conclude, I'd like to thank Dr. Harry Benjamin one more time for joining us. This has been Get, Set, Go. And that is our theme for the month of January. And this has been put together by the African Institute of the Mind. We're looking forward to hearing that you are healthy, you are well, and that you are able to join us next month. Our condolences go out to those who have lost loved ones, and the pandemic has affected the world in ways that we cannot explain. Please continue to be safe and look after yourself. More importantly, recognize the need to social distance. Be very careful with how you expose yourself. Where you can, please wear a face mask. It's okay also not to wear a mask if you feel that you need to breathe a bit. But when you're in public places, please respect what has been required by the country that you live in. I thank you all once again, and I'm looking forward to hearing that you are healthy and that you are living in peace and that you're experiencing abundant blessings in every area of your life. It's me, Joshua Awesome, on behalf of the African Institute of the Mind, wishing you a peaceful 2021 and one filled with abundant blessings. Bye for now.